What up, Raptors fans? No. Hello and welcome to the wrap up, your official post-game show from us at Raptors Republic. I'm Oren Weisfeld. I got Adon Moss with me. I got Don Yang behind the scenes on the wooka wooka doing some production. Your Toronto Raptors just won a pretty big road game against the Memphis Grizzlies, 126-113 to improve to 9-8 on the season. It was a great game. Honestly, it was a great second half where the Raptors just destroyed Memphis after being down by 12, I believe, at the halftime. And we're gonna get into all of the good, maybe a little bit of the bad, but mostly focusing on the good and the youth that really showed up tonight in Memphis. Adon, how are you feeling right now? Just must have been a roller coaster emotionally.
It was two halves of completely different emotions. Utter dejection in the first half and utter exuberance in the second half. It was fun to watch. It was cool to see Precious go off, especially back where he played college. The energy, the defense, like it all just kind of gelled for a second half, and it was a thrill. It was nice to get the W.
Yeah, it was such a weird game because, like, defensively, I think we should start there because to me, the defense is what changed the game for them in the second half. Like, they scored, I think, like 50 something points in the first half. So it's not like defense was really, offense was an issue at any point, but Memphis scored 61 in that first half, I think on like 64% shooting or something. So they were getting everything they wanted, especially Ja Morant, who is just incredible and is just incredible. But Toronto in the second half defensively just like figured it out. And I know you want to talk about Ja, and I have a clip to show later, but it just feels like finally, it felt like finally, like they actually kind of knew what they were doing. Like the rotations that, like, they actually knew where the next rotation was going to be. And it just like, it made sense kind of for like the first time in maybe the whole road trip. The defense was just clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, in the second half, they held Memphis to 21 in each quarter, which is like, very strong showing. I think, like you said, they figured out the rotations. I think part of it, maybe we'll get to it with Ja, but like part of it is knowing who to rotate on, right? Like Isaiah Williams is going to take corner threes. Go ahead all day, side of the backboard, bring it.
Top of the backboard.
Top of the backboard.
I think it hit the top. That was wild.
Like slow-mo, same thing, right? Like he can hit it, which he did, but you have about 400 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
So it was kind of figuring out that Bane and Triple J, and with Jaren Jackson having 4 fouls, that devastated them. I think like he was destroying us down low. He was smashing on the 3-point line. Like he really opened up the half court for Memphis, and losing him, I think was a major implosion for Memphis.
Yeah, and Adams didn't really play that much in the second half. After what part of the story of the first half was the offensive rebounding. Like Memphis was destroying them in the paint and on the boards. And as Steven Adams was a big part of that. And then in the second half, the Raptors just like, not only were they keeping guys in front of them a lot better, I thought they made some adjustments to not, like, they started the game with Fred on Ja, and he was a step slow in some situations, and they made some adjustments and tried different looks. Like even Trent and Delano Banton took turns on Ja, so they did a better job staying in front of guys. They did a better job rotating over, and then they were like, in the second half, they were grabbing pretty much every defensive rebound except like Ja got a couple, but like that's gonna happen when you jump like 10 feet off the air, like, and time it really well, but they just like the defense was like finishing possessions really, really well, which was kind of shocking after the first half that they had. Like,
the gap, it was 26-11 in rebounds at half, and then they only lost the rebounding by 6 at the end of the game. So you're right, like they figured it out.
And looking. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I think the switch with Gary onto Ja made a lot of sense too. Like Fred was so aggro on Morant and Morant's. I mean, I don't know if you ever saw a clip at the end of the game. He's in the other end of the court, and Ja's like dodging dudes like he's playing a game of tag. Like trying to contain Ja is nearly impossible. And I think Fred was playing too high on him and giving Ja way too much space. Gary's a little bit more controlled. He does get in your short sometimes, but he's a wider frame and he's longer, and so I think he gave Ja a little, and same with Delano, and so they gave him a little bit more trouble getting into the paint.
Yeah, Ja is kind of difficult because even like alternatively, if you're not in his body and you give him like a head of steam, then he has a head of steam coming
Yeah,
at you. So it's like
true.
finding that balance between not being too many steps off of him, but like not being right up in his jersey where the rotation has to come right away too.
Yeah,
I thought the story of this game was the young guns. Like Siakam, not a great game. Fred, a really good second half, but like he wasn't like assertive. He was never assertive in this game. It wasn't like he took control of it at any point, really. But like Barnes, Precious Achua, Gary Trent Jr., all those guys are under 24 years old. And then Utah Watanabe, just unbelievable. Unbelievable game. Malachi Flynn played really well. Delano Banton, I thought, was really good in his minutes.
yeah.
So, like, all the young guys showed up tonight. I don't know where you want to start. If maybe you want to start. I mean, I kind of want to start with
Should,
Precious.
should we start with like the least exciting to the most?
Okay, go for Flynn then.
Well, actually, I think it's Banton just because Banton did what he's done every game, which is like played his 8 to 14 minutes, gives you like immediate offense through like creative cutting or just being at the right place at the right time, and he just gives us that energy boost every game now. It seems like you just know what you're going to get from him,
Yeah.
And it's just like a fun thing to see that he's becoming a constant and that he's not a flame out. Like there was kind of a little bit of concern he was a Linsanity kind of guy, but it looks like he's really kind of finding his purpose on this team.
Yeah, like that last clip there, like he just glides when he catches
Yeah.
these cuts, and like
Oof.
he has so much time to adjust in the air when he's kind of just gliding to the basket. But yeah, it's true. Like when you put him in the game, you know what you were gonna get, and that's like more than most young guys can say for themselves. And honestly, in my opinion, it's more than like Malachi Flynn can say for himself because
Yeah.
he had a really good game. But the whole story of the season is like, what are you getting when you put Flynn in a game? And tonight you got some playmaking, you got a little bit of shot making, you got some really good defense. Like he had that one steal off a rebound where he just like grabbed it and it led to I think free throws, I think. But
Yeah.
like to me for Flynn, the difference was like his confidence. Like from the moment he stepped on the floor in this game, it felt like someone like in his family was just like, go, dude, just do it, man. Like stop passing even, like just like take it to their throats. And like that was the energy he came with today.
Yeah, they've been showing more and more trust with him, and I don't know, it kind of feels like it's maybe a practice thing, like because I think at the beginning of the year, whatever they saw in practice, they were not digging, and over the last little while, Nurse has been putting him in earlier and earlier and showing more confidence into him, and that's translating into his game too. I think part of it is Memphis's perimeter defense is like. And they missed Anthony Melton, who's a big time bench defender for them. But yeah, Flynn did everything he's good at in the pick and roll, the spot up. He played defense as best he could. Like it was a very strong game from him, I thought.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like in general, the bench, they're finally like I made a point on this podcast. I don't know if it was last episode or whenever, but like that a couple years ago, some of the bench guys found their footing on a West Coast road trip, and it kind of feels like we're seeing the same thing. Like after a really, really slow start to the year from the Raptors bench, they're putting it together both individually and collectively, like as a unit, especially offensively. Like it feels like they finally have some kind of pet plays that they can go to, and a lot of it is also coming in transition off like steals, and like maybe the next guy we can get to who I don't think he's the third most exciting. He's probably like tops my excitement rankings just because it's his first game of the season. And it's a great story playing in Memphis for like a couple years with their G League program and then coming to Toronto
Bring it on, baby. Lay it
and
on us.
Utah with his first game of the season. Like I'm looking at the box score 0 of 3 from the field, right? But
Yeah,
then
but one
in
was a
four,
goaltending.
it was in 14 minutes though. The point is 2 offensive rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, and that one block was like as
Insane.
Eric Kareen tweeted, like Utah is not dwelling on Anthony Edwards obliterating him a year ago. Like that's out of his head because he
True.
made the same rotation. It was just as ballsy as the time he got dunked all over. Like it was so ballsy for him to even go for that ball. And he did it and he got all ball. And that was just like really one of the best blocks of the year that I've seen. Like
I actually think it's there was actually the ghost of that dunk moved on because I don't know if you saw the highlight, but Ant did it again this time to I think Gabe Vincent,
but you saw that
and
didn't count, right?
I did. It was an offensive foul, but all
Yeah.
the same, like Utah's been released from that demon symbolically, and then yeah, he just that dunk, that block
What
was.
happened first though? Do you have the stats on that? Are you sure the Utah block
I
happened
actually think the
before?
block happened first. But yeah, the block was insane. He
Yeah.
had a bunch of other deflections. He had essentially steals that weren't attributed to him. That play right there, where and this is what I'm talking about with the defense. It's like recognizing who you're guarding and rotating accordingly. So Utah's got Brandon Clark, who can't shoot worth shit at the top of the key, right? Like 18 feet, he's not a threat. And so Utah immediately drops on the post entry and doesn't
Right.
even give Jaren Jackson a moment to make a move.
Yeah.
And that's like, Utah's athleticism and length combined with his wisdom is just so refreshing because the rest of our team, our youngins, are more, relying on their energy and excitement. And Utah's got this old soul kind of defense to him, like the
Yeah.
YMCA dude that you just hate playing against because he doesn't move when you
If the
try and get him to
YMCA
move.
dude was 6'8" and like
Yeah,
really athletic.
yeah, yeah.
But
Not
yeah,
not a hairy bald dude with the 2 ankle braces.
yeah, and also like you said, just really smart. Like when he makes these doubles and gets his hands there, he knows that the guy he's defending is usually not like a great offensive player, and also like maybe in this game not a great shooter. But on the Utah front, like we often give players time. They'll come back from a game from an injury, and Utah's been out for like 2 months now, so they'll come back from an injury, and we'll be like, expectations are really low. If you mess up, we're not gonna blame you. We're gonna give you the injury treatment, which is like a few games before we start like hating on you. But like this guy did not look like he missed
No,
any time. Like that was the crazy thing to me when he came in the second quarter. It was just like, oh, he's just back to being like his preseason self, which was like the best version that we've seen of him. And this is a game changer for this bench. Like, as crazy as that might sound, like I tweeted it in nicer language. Like, if Nurse does not play Boucher for the second half and just rides Utah, like the Raptors are going to be fine because to me, the biggest issue on defense in the first half was Chris Boucher. And to the point where Memphis guys were even just like getting a screen, getting the switch onto Boucher, and then eating him alive in ISO. And it was bad. And if he was the low man and he had to come over when like Ja got a step on his man, and there was that one time where Ja dunked on him, he didn't even make like an effort to get to the ball, and his footwork was all over the place, like to get into the lane. I think he thought someone was in the corner, maybe. Like I don't know what happened on that play, but Utah can just take Chris Boucher's minutes, like theoretically, and your bench is just like really upgraded the way I see it.
yeah, it's kind of interesting because we downsized and yet our interior defense got better. Like
Yeah.
we, I I I don't know what Boucher. I think Boucher is maybe a little bit. Well, he is rides off of his offensive performance a little bit, and he missed a couple of gimmies. He wasn't like hitting a shot. I think he hit 1 3, but it just like he goes back on defense and his energy is zero. His foot speed is zero. Like he's not making. He's not making if he's making the read, he's not acting on them like aggressively. I don't know. You just watch him and he looks totally lackluster. And
Yeah.
I think that's what Nurse saw, and they yanked him immediately and put in guys who are willing to give it their all.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And like talking about the the rim protection and stuff, like, that's the weird thing about Boucher's season is that he actually hasn't been blocking shots. This is, like, the one thing you used to always get from him no
Yeah.
matter what. He's just not, like, there as a rim protector this season, so you know who was there as a rim protector? No, let's do that after. Let's talk about Scotty Barnes, though,
Yeah. Okay.
if we're moving up the excitement rankings, because
Yeah.
I thought he was another guy who kinda, from the very start of the game, brought the energy and was like, "All right, I'm gonna take my shots tonight, and I'm just gonna, like, be really locked in the whole game."
Yes, he looked. I kind of disagree because in the first quarter he looked a little bit still phased. Like like he had like he got double teamed in the post and he kind of just threw like an errant pass to the weak side. He had like a pull up three where he's like a little bit hesitant, but then all of a sudden it just kind of changed and he kicked into gear and he looked like he was having fun again. And I can't remember when it switched. It switched early, but something happened to kind of really just get him back focused. And then from there, it was just like a rocket had launched. And for the rest of the game, it was like the Scotty we had seen it of old. But yeah, he ended up having an incredible game.
Yeah, like, in these clips, he's just the biggest guy. Like, he's getting the dribble is not tight, but it's tight enough to get him to back down. Like, he can post up his own guy and create a post up by just backing this guy in. And he can get into the paint, and if he gets into the paint, like, the Grizzlies are sending bodies into the paint, and he did a good job today of passing out of those doubles, like, after what you said, like, he had 3 assists, and it was just, like, once he leverages the scoring and they're afraid of that threat,
Hmm.
then they have to bring more bodies, because just look how, like, it's always gonna be that Barnes's man is smaller than him, right? At
Yeah.
least the way this team is constructed right now, like, he's just gonna feast off that, so he's doing really smart things, taking the ball into the paint, waiting for the pressure to come, and then passing it out to 3, and then the other thing we just saw is that he's actually making threes now. I think there's, like, 3 games in a row where he's made a 3. That's pretty
Two threes.
significant. Yeah, 2 threes last game.
Oh no, the one of them didn't count, right? He had a foot on the line this game. I thought the half court threes was only three, but that other one is
Oh,
effectively
wow,
a
true, yeah.
three. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of,
me
but yeah,
too. But he only actually had one.
true.
And I think maybe that was when the the tide changed. Was that like 3-pointer at the quarter? Like
Yeah,
that kind of just maybe set him off. But yeah, and I
that was
think
big.
there's a clip here where that little hook shot he had. And what I first of all, he has that hook shot basically anytime he wants. If he can get
Oh, that
himself,
one, yeah.
yeah, this one here, like if he can get himself
Oof.
low enough, he can basically do that, like you said, on his littlest defender. But I think what was cool about that play is he kind of wiggled his way into that play, right? Like he cross dribbles, he takes the screen, he cross dribbles, and then he goes to work. And like that's where you see him building on his offense and being able to ISO one on one. But Clark's not small or unathletic, and he just totally wastes him.
Yeah, it's funny because Barnes kind of has an old man game in the half court. Like in transition, he's a very young bull, but in the half court, like the way he like initiates his post ups and these hook shots that you're talking about, like they're very patient, right? And like he doesn't rush it. He waits. He reads the defense extremely well, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of funny that like he has such an old man game in that one sense, but then in transition, he's like playing in 2030. Um, but yeah, next guy in our power rankings, and people might be mad about this in terms of the young gun power rankings. They might think he's the number one guy, but Gary Trent Jr., I'm gonna go with number 2, if that's okay with
Yeah,
you.
I agree with that.
Offensively, he was the number one guy tonight. 26 points, 4 assists. Wow, 4 assists for Trent, 4 threes, and a lot of fourth quarter scoring. Like when they made that run, it was a whole lot of Trent. And it's pretty funny watching Trent because he never looks at his teammates like when he has the balls. He doesn't even care where they are or how open they are. But this season, he's just shooting so well that it doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much else to say about Trent except like he's making his shots right now.
that that absolutely feels like it, 100%. I mean, Gary's got the green light because his offense can be so goddamn ugly at times, and he's been hitting them, like you said. What I really liked, he missed a couple early, but he was passing up on the first open three, which he would take open or not, and
Yeah.
then he was probing into the elbows, and like he had a couple of like I don't know 9-foot jumpers that he missed, but it shows you that he's being a little bit more thoughtful. If he's not looking for the open guy, at least he's kind of looking for the better shot. And
Yeah.
then and
That's true.
and so like that's kind of nice to see in his development. But although it doesn't really seem to matter right now because he seems to just be hitting everything. There was
Yeah.
that one possession where sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, people think it's a bad thing that he takes a dribble, and like it would be preferable for sure if he took that catch and shoot three right away and if he was ready to go.
In motion,
But
yeah.
but it just feels like with Trent, he's a lot more comfortable once he puts the ball on the floor and then either step backs or gets to the elbow and like you can be mad about it, but if that's where he's most comfortable and if that's where he's gonna score the most effectively for is after he puts the ball on the ground, then like all the power to him. Just like keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like there are a few guys on this team right now that are consistently creating a shot, especially with OG gone. So like I'm okay with it. That I think it might have been that three. It was the one where you knew he wanted to jack it, like he was dying to. And what was so funny about it, which is almost like symbolic of this team, is Siakam missed an open three. Then they got the offensive rebound. Van Vliet missed the open
Yeah.
three. And then the ball goes to Gary and he does like 5 dribbles, fadeaway contested three, and he bangs it. Like so, I mean, when he goes 5 for 18 or whatever he did against Golden State, we're in trouble. But those seem to be more often last year, and so far this year, those games are the anomaly.
Yeah. Last guy on our young bull power rankings is Precious
MVP.
Precious Achua, man. Came back to Memphis where he went to university as Matt Devlin made sure to remind everyone. Game high plus 28, which is a
Wow.
pretty insane number in 28 minutes. Uh 3 for 3 from three, which I think is the thing that stuck out to everyone in this game. But there it was more than that. Like there's a play I clipped that we'll get to later, but it Precious was like his touch around the rim was a lot better other than that, like, he missed a couple dunks.
Yeah,
Uh,
the alley oop, the
yeah.
Freddie Precious alley oop connection is just so bad.
Yeah, but I'll say, like, with Precious, I've gotten a lot more comfortable with him with a head of steam, like, him sprinting in transition. At the beginning of that season of the season, it was like, "That's a turnover," and now it's like, "Oh, wow, he can actually, like, decelerate at the rim, I think that's a word, and
Mhm.
finish or even like wrap around a pass to another big or a cutter coming on. Like his playmaking is getting better and he's just becoming a lot like I think the game is slowing down for him a little bit right now.
Yeah.
And that's really what he's needed. And then on top of that, it's like defensively and as a rebounder, like even though he only has 2 defensive rebounds, just boxing out and making sure the Raptors got the rebounds. I thought like when he was on the floor, and then the numbers obviously say it, when he was on the floor, the Raptors actually had like a big, and that was such a difference maker against this team that against the Grizzlies, who are big themselves and who like to get to the rim.
Yeah, he offensively, you're right. Like his touch looked tighter. Like he had a couple of fast break, kind of in traffic, left-handed layups, which was like really nice to see. Um, his three opened up, which is always helpful. But early on, and he's been doing this the last couple of games, is he's not looking to shoot right away. He's getting the ball and he's kind of doing what like Birch does, which is immediately looking to swing it. And so you can kind of see that he's letting the game come to him a little bit more.
Yeah.
When he's wide open like that, then yeah, shoot it. I'm okay with that. But his decision making and like you're saying, the deceleration in his game are all good signs. And then yeah, on defense, he was making the right rotations. He broke up that alley oop. Like we need his ferocity as much as anything, especially when we're missing Birch and Boucher's like a ghost, you know. So, but yeah, he played great on both ends.
Yeah, and he played almost the entire second half because of that. Like
Yeah.
the Raptors closed the second half small. I think Svi was in his position to close the second half, and it felt like he kind of took that personally coming out in the third quarter, just like being so good that like there was no question that they were going to close the game with him. Um, I love that he's taking threes, like regardless of if he's making them. Some days he's going to, some days he's not. But it's hard to get guys to take threes in this league. And like even Barnes also took 3 threes tonight. Like that's really encouraging to me. I want all of these guys to take threes.
Yeah, and like I was saying, it was kind of, or I was gonna say, is it's hard to know if it was Boucher sucking or Precious playing so well that resulted in Precious playing the whole quarter. But
Yeah.
I think it was a convergence of both. Shout out to Svi. I think he played pretty well as well. I'm a big Svi fan, and again, like makes the right cuts, gets to the rim. He was shooting the three, which, like you're saying, is like hard to come by with this team. So I think he played pretty well as well.
No, I think he did too. I think like the only reason I wouldn't call myself a part of the Svi Island Club clan is because I just like when the team skews big, and when Svi's in, it generally means it's him plus another guard, and sometimes plus like Trent, so that sometimes there's like 3 guards when he's in, and I just like get a little weary when they're that small that they're going to be able to execute defensively because like yeah, it helps the spacing, but sometimes like, and I had this as a bullet point, like sometimes the team's identity changes so much from one quarter to the next. And I think that's one thing they really have to figure out is like your identity is like this lengthy defensive team that likes to get out in transition. If that's the case, then like be that most of the time. I'm not asking like every possession or anything, but like quarter to quarter on a consistent basis, like have an identity and build on it, like rather than right now. And part of it is guys are in and out of the rotation. I think that's a really big part of it, and it's hard to form an identity when that's the case. But it does feel like it's a little too much based on if the bench is playing, if this lineup's playing, if this, like every group is so different that it's not necessarily like a good kind of different. It's just like a what's gonna happen, I don't know, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like the identity I want to see is the long, rangy, fast, athletic. But really, this team, especially off the bench, is so desperate for some kind of scoring. And Svi just on a continual basis is at the rim. Like he just knows how to get to the rim. He knows how to pick his spots, and he spreads the floor. And he works hard on defense. He's not the best defender. I really feel like he's like a lesser version of Gary Trent Jr. Like he does similar things and is kind of the same size profile where he's like he's not long, he's like kind of big for a shooting guard, and he's pretty athletic. But I do agree that I like more consistency, and I feel like we saw lineups from the bench that were more consistent than we did last game when we talked about how like Nick Nurse was throwing all kinds of lineups out there.
Yeah. Last 2 guys who I just want to mention, and I don't know if you have anything to say, but I think it's interesting that like with most young teams, I think you have like the vets are gonna help you like win, like score. I mean, maybe that's actually not even a good point, but in this game, it just felt like Siakam and Fred were like the defensive backbone. They were the guys that throughout the whole game were kind of keeping the defense together. And then the young guys were the guys who were scoring. Like I don't know how normal that is or how common that is, but like for Siakam to only take 13 shots in this one, like that's kind of surprising, but he felt okay doing it. Like it didn't feel that weird that he wasn't a big part of the offense, and he was just like he really held JJJ in check in the second half, I thought, and he was just like really good making rotations, protecting the rim a little bit. Fred is credited with 2 blocks and 2 steals, so he was obviously being his usual defensive self. Like there was one play that was just incredibly smart for him to go double the ball handler because the shot clock was at like 3, and it resulted in Dylan Brooks like heaving something up. So yeah, I thought those 2 held the defense together really well for a big road win.
It's funny how they determine what is a block and what is a steal for Fred. Like,
Yeah,
he'd probably be a steals leader if
he's
they
mad.
just got him all
He's mentioned
steals.
that many times that
Yeah,
that he's mad about it. That
I
they
would be too. It makes no sense. Like strips are not blocks, but whatever. Yeah,
right.
I agree. Like I think true leadership is, and Pascal's is learning. It seems like is knowing when to defer. is knowing when to fill in like what's needed at the time. And you're seeing it more, especially the last couple of games. He's been a pivot passer. Like the ball hasn't stuck in his hands when he's semi open. There was a play early in the game where he was at the corner three, and I think we have it in the film actually, where he immediately swings it to the corner from Svi's three. And so like, yeah, I mean, it's encouraging to see that when other people are playing well, they're not still trying to get theirs. How often are we going to see those other guys like collectively play well? I don't know. It remains to be seen. Yeah, this is the play.
How often will Precious shoot 3 for 3 from 3?
Yeah.
Who knows?
How often will Flynn go 3 for 4 and like hit all of his pull-ups? I don't.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
No, but that's a really good point, because like we can break down all these games, all of this stuff at the end of the day that doesn't really matter in a season like this, because what matters is like, can Pascal be like a part of this team going forward when there's been all this noise, when Scotty Barnes has evolved as this new potential go-to guy in the coming years. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that's the one thing that's hung over me this season, is that kind of worry about, can this current core that maybe the best 5 guys on the roster maybe are none of them are centers, and then maybe can they rebound without having a center on? Like, the best 5 guys on the floor just don't fit like a traditional basketball team. And then on top of that, like, just body language reading, I think like Pascal and Barnes have had like their moments, and I think it is getting better. Like today, it looked really good. Like Pascal is genuinely happy to like defer to him today. And I thought that was like a really meaningful change from what I've seen earlier in the season. With even Pascal had a comment to the media, which is rare to be this like honest, where he was like, do these guys know how good I am? Like, he was talking about his like newer teammates. He's like, sometimes I don't know if they know how good I am, right? And it's like, ooh, like, that's something you don't see around the Raptors very often. But so that's what I'm looking to resolve itself this season. And I think the last couple of games have been a pretty good progress on that front. I just feel like Siakam's a little more okay deferring, taking less shots, and then also like being happy for some of these young guys, and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, Masai envisioned this, I think, and so they're going to run with it for a while. I do think they all fit, especially when Pascal's hitting his spot up threes and Scotty's hitting his spot up threes, and Pascal's playing like a passing forward, and not being an arrogant, sulky dude. Like, and hopefully that changes, especially as he sees Barnes grow into like a potential superstar. Like, maybe he'll realize where his place is in the pecking order. I don't know.
Right.
But I do think there is a scenario where they do coexist and they are lethal.
Yeah.
And between the 4 of them, like, it's just a constant onslaught of attacking and kicking and attacking and kicking.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it could work too. And I think like on the court, it makes sense. But I guess I'm more talking about like the mentality of all these players. It's a really hard adjustment. Like, maybe Barnes will be so good that becomes an easier adjustment, but right now, obviously, like, it's not going to be an easy adjustment for anyone. For Barnes to go from a guy who is like a huge usage guy to like one of the lesser options on offense, and then for Pascal to go from what he's been for the last 2 years on the Raptors to just one of 5 guys, which is really what the offense is right now. He's just one of 5 guys on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think with Birch having those 6 guys, it's hard to really decide how to roll them out. I think if everybody's bought in, you roll out different lineups depending on who you play.
Yeah.
Like if we had played, with healthy against Golden State, no Birch. Like, I think
Right.
so. They're just gonna, again, if everybody's bought in, I feel like it'll be okay. But
yeah, I was so looking forward to them being healthy today. Like Birch news came out of nowhere. OG was questionable, but hopefully next game they'll get a full roster together.
Yeah.
Why don't we go? We have some clips to show you guys, some film breakdown, but before we get to that, let's just get to the Can-Am Taxman of the Night. Do you want to nominate someone?
I'm gonna give it to Utah.
Okay, that's fun.
The taxman goes door to door and takes his penance, and Utah was doing that. He was going, he was all over the court, picking guys' pockets, filling in gaps, and his return was triumphant, and it was great to see him look bouncy and vibrant on the court, and I'm happy to name him the taxman of the night.
Totally. I think if he didn't play this game, even though they won by 10 or 13, I think if he didn't play, they probably would have lost this game. Like, if I'm being honest, like, that's how instrumental he was in the second half to this comeback. So Utah Watanabe is the Can-Am Taxman of the Night. Everyone, for all your tax needs, you got to do taxes. The season's coming up real quick. Visit canamtax.com to get your taxes done. Don't try to do it by yourself. Don't try to do it on one of these free websites. You're not going to get money back. It's a bad idea. This is one of pandemic years. You can get some money back because the government was spending. So go to Can-Am Tax, get them to do it for you, and you'll come thanking me in my DMs for all the cash that's gonna flow back into your bank
And you
account.
can throw it our way afterwards.
Yeah, you can give us a small amount as one should. All right, into the film breakdown. We'll just go chronologically, kind of forget what clips we have, but we'll see as we go, and we'll try to analyze what's going on in them. Oh yeah, so this is me. So this is just like they call this Xing out with, let's see who's involved. So Barnes and Fred. So just the way that Fred communicates to Barnes to go take the high man and Fred's going to take the low man. This is something that they haven't been able to do pretty much all season, and it's what's killed them from the corner three, or it's a part of the reason they're getting killed from corner threes is like the failure to make these rotations. We've talked last game about two guys going to the ball, right? And then one guy's open in the corner. So this was just a really good example of they make the switch. Barnes takes the high man. I don't know why it's like buffering at the same point every time, but Fred takes the low man, and then a contested shot, and then a rebound. So this is just like third quarter. This is when the defense turned around. This is when it was like, oh yeah, they're locked in. Like they're gonna win.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I mean, like with Ja. Like they weren't doing this in the first quarter where they were crowding him in the pick and roll. They were just kind of letting the big man and Freddie figure it out, and it wasn't working. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, you got Bain, who's been a dead eye shooter almost all season, except for I think he went 1 for 19 for like a spurt. And then you got Brooks in the corner. And so it's like figuring out who you want to shoot that ball. And you want Bain to either shoot a super contested three, which he does, or you want him to swing it to Brooks, who like, fuck, go ahead, Brooks, I don't care. And they were also not figuring that out in the first half. So this is like they execute it kind of like positionally, but they execute it intellectually as well, which is good to see.
Yeah, it's a good point. As someone who has Brooks in their fantasy league, he came out starting this game shooting wild shit. Like his first shot of the game was just a very contested, like fading long two, and then I think he airballed a three, and then he missed his first he missed like three of his first six free throws. I was like, fuck, they shouldn't have played him today, but he came alive in the second half.
He's
So
like the lesser Marcus Smart.
yeah, I like him though. I'm a big fan of Dylan
I mean,
Brooks.
I like his
It's just
dude.
he's been injured, so he
Yeah,
gets the injury qualification.
but he's another guy where he's got to know his role, and I don't know
No, he
that.
does
Although
not.
they had a press conference with him, and he said, "Coach taught me how to pass."
Dude, wearing like a hat that was like it was like I want to take you seriously, I really do, but I can't. Like wearing this outfit, I can't.
And what was orange? His coat or his glasses or both?
Dude, his whole I don't know. I
It
don't
was
remember.
great.
Yeah, let's move on though.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Was
this
all serious?
yeah, well,
This
not
is
to
Yeah. Go ahead.
this is me, but not to be negative here. But this is our time to be negative. I was just pissed that no one jumped on this ball or got a hand on it before the Grizzlies called the timeout, because there was like 3-4 seconds here where someone should have jumped on that ball in order to make sure they got a hand on it and at least gotten a jump ball. And instead, the Grizzlies get a timeout after he's on the floor for like 3 seconds. It was just like, where's the effort, guys?
It actually represents a lot, which is that I was talking about the first quarter Barnes. Like, it looked like this was going to be another rookie like defeated game. Like, normally these fast breaks that he runs, he gets by the guy, or he kind of figures out what to do. And Jaren Jackson just totally picked his pocket. But then on top of that, you got Siakam, who's kind of like too good for the floor apparently. And maybe Precious waiting for Pascal to dive, and it's like, no, dude, you should both be on the floor immediately. Neither of you are too good for that. So I agree.
Yeah. Anyways, we won, so we won't dwell on the past, on the negatives. We can move on.
Okay. This is my play. So this is just like, I mean, they one of their few great offensive possessions in the first half. It's like Pascal attacks, he gets cut off. It's a weak side kick, so defense is rotating. Flynn does the same thing. Memphis rotates really well. Then he kicks to Pascal, who swings it to the corner. Like, this is good basketball, and this is what I always say. Like, the irony of scoring is actually you need to pass the ball first, right? Because what happens is you attack, and instead of taking a contested shot, you kick it. The ball will inevitably return back to you, which it did. Pascal could have done different things there. He could have shot and it would have been okay. He could have drove on Brooks, who was recovering, but he makes the extra pass. Like, this is just good, sound basketball that I enjoy watching.
Yeah.
And Svi makes the shot, which makes it all worthwhile.
No, yeah, I love this pass from Pascal because like he could have passed it to Barnes and then the whole advantage that he created by touching the paint would have probably been nullified.
Right.
But he makes the really smart read to get it to Flynn, and then they have to close out really hard. Flynn takes it to the paint, and then pretty easy from there.
Totally, that's a good point. Yeah, it's not the easiest pass to get to Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
So that was positive, and that was first half too. So
no, that was great. I remember watching that one and being very happy.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got up our sleeves. Utah.
Oh, is this a Utah montage?
Yeah, nice. This is what we need.
We all need this. Viewers, everybody just sit in and watch for a while.
No, but honestly, in this one game, he's been a better. This is a better rim protection game than Chris Boucher has had all season. Like, it just is. And he's not nearly as tall or lanky, but man, like, this guy, I'm a huge fan.
It doesn't even include the steals he had or the deflections. Like, he really was just like short up.
There's a steal.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And Fred finished around the rim amazingly tonight.
Yeah, he did.
Okay,
like, again, it's just like Utah just knows where to be before the play's happening. That last one, I think he leaves Conchar and like slides over before the attacker's even in the key. Like, he does really have a nose for the ball in position. Sorry, he leaves. What's his name? The point guard. But still.
Yeah, he has really good hands too, but that's the thing. Like, he's always fit the system incredibly well in terms of being a guy who can stunt and then recover back to the 3-point line. Like, that was kind of like the immediate fit and why he won that roster spot last season. And from there, it's just like the way that he's developing so quickly with the Raptors.
Yeah, and like last year, he had some confidence issues. Like, he would hesitate when he was open for spot ups and stuff. And now you can tell he has an identity and like a swagger to him. He's like, I know who I am. I know what I'm supposed to do. I can do it really well, and I'm celebrated for it. So let's go and roll. And it's true. It's fun to watch.
He knows his role now, right? Like, he knows what they ask of him. Like, defensively, be a disruptor, and then offensively, like, spot up, and you're gonna get some open looks.
Totally.
Yeah, let's move on though. Oh yeah, like that's what he said when at the end Edwards dunked on him, right?
Yeah.
So he's not gonna stop jumping. That's great. Oh, that's it. Okay.
That's it for film. Yeah.
That's it for film. Nice.
I saw a funny tweet. Alex from Sportsnet tweeted that Dylan Brooks is an evil Danny Green, which is very funny.
Yeah.
It's totally an evil twin. Well, yeah, questions. I like questions time.
Yeah, questions are fun. If anyone of the fans have questions, put them in the chat. If you have a super chat, we'll get to that first. But yeah.
And we'll give you the answer you want.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just kind of a weird game to analyze. Like I didn't have that many points on it because it was just like a tale of two halves, and they were such a different team. But yeah, I mean, people are definitely going to use this game as a reason to shit on Pascal. I saw Sid Sidero, I think, from like Breakfast Television.
Six arrow.
Yeah, sorry. saying like how Pascal was like minus 17 in the first half. He did close the game +2, but like I mean, like we talked about him having a floor, and so like I'm not mad about it. It obviously wasn't a great like offensive showing from him. But he got to line 8 times. That's huge for this team. No one else does it. 7 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 17 points. Like, that's no slouch. Like, as someone who has him in fantasy, like, I'm okay with that, you know? It's like, plus the defense we already talked about. Like, he's not, Pascal has very clearly proved that he's not like Kawhi. Like, he's not going to put up 25 every night. We have to accept that. He's going to have some off nights shooting the ball. But if this is the floor, like if this is his off night, he finds a way to get the line 8 times. Like he rebounds, he's playing defense, then like that's pretty good. That's a pretty good floor.
Yeah, and he can get you a bucket, not the best ISO scorer, but he can do it. And that says more than most of the guys on our team.
Yeah, other than Gary Trent Jr., who's apparently
a microwave.
Yeah. Who goes to the bench? This is the question that everyone wants to know, myself included. I really don't have a great answer for you.
I'm starting to feel like Barnes makes sense.
Same, but it's not a great answer.
And I hate it.
Yeah.
And I hope it doesn't affect Barnes, but I think he'll understand.
Oh, I mean, he like, for reference, in Florida State, they said you're going to come off the bench like a couple games into the season, and he was like, I'm okay with that. He was always like, from everything that's come out, he was always like totally down for any role. So unless something's changed, he's because it's probably different if you tell Gary Trent Jr. you're coming off the bench. Like after how well he's played with the starters, it's a harder conversation. Probably.
Yeah, it's just like, dude, you're the rookie.
Yeah.
And also, he just fits the bench mold as well, I think.
But also what you said, if they're playing teams without an elite center, or an elite like offensive center, then maybe you can start that small ball lineup. Regardless, that small ball lineup, your 5 best players, they're going to play a lot of minutes together. Especially
if Boucher gets buried, because then you just have Birch and Precious off the bench. Whereas if he isn't, then you have 3 centers, which doesn't really work. Closeouts. Yeah, I remember it was really bad last week. Nothing really stood out to me tonight. Actually, it's good point. They seem to be a little bit more disciplined. Some of the times they weren't closing out at all, which is another issue, but there wasn't a lot of jumping into the third row of the bleachers.
No, almost none of it. It's almost like they probably showed the guys this as a film session, just our last show. And that was all film was for the closeouts. But as Lewis mentioned on the last show, Utah, yeah, he's a perfect closeout guy. But it's true, like we really didn't see anyone really jumping at those closeouts. So it probably was a point of emphasis for the coaching staff after that.
I heard Nick tuned into our show and then put it on film and just ran it.
That's what I just said.
Did you?
Yeah, that's the joke I just made.
Oh shit! I was reading the comments.
Oh,
that's insult. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, sometimes that happens. You tune it out.
Yeah, I stopped listening to you hours ago.
Yeah. All right. Any other cues? Thoughts on Fred facilitating? I mean, not really. It's kind of been It's kind of been good all season. I will say, actually, in the first half, they ran a lot of pick and roll and didn't get anything out of it, and then they just had to reset the offense with like 10 seconds on the shot clock. So that wasn't very good, but
I
they
still
figured
want to
it
see
out.
a lot more pick and roll, which they have been running, and I do think it's one way to get quick buckets for us.
Yeah, like I'm okay with pick and roll, more pick and roll in general, but I don't think it should only be Fred handling and
No, I
Precious
agree.
rolling.
I
Like
agree.
it's too right now. It's too predictable. It's the same thing over and over again.
I do like they ran a weak side pick and roll with Barnes and Fred, and it looked really nice. But yeah, I mean, Fred off ball as a spot up shooter is a better option at times.
Yeah, I want Siakam to get more picks set for him because right now he's either ISOing or posting up.
Or him be the screener. I
Yeah,
love him when he's screening.
yeah.
Where do we trade Boucher? I think Boucher going to the Warriors makes a lot of sense. I think him and Draymond compare really well together. Nemanja Bjelica is not really a good defender. If there's somebody that can get on Boucher's ass and make him play the role he's supposed to be, it's Golden State. And he can shoot when he's open typically. So I feel like what we get in return, I don't know, maybe it's Bjelica and a pick or something, but that's where I would trade him.
Yeah, I've thought about that too, but he did come from there, so that kind of makes me think it's less likely. Like he was with their program.
Yeah, but he wasn't good then.
No, he wasn't good then, but it's just like it doesn't it feel like it's less likely for a team to like go back to like their ex kind of. I don't know.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to find a play. What about like could Portland use him?
Portland. Yeah. I mean, they kind of have a glut at that power forward. Portland's problem is they don't have a wing unless Nasir Little really turns into a player, which he might. But Covington, Nance, they're and Nurkic, they're all, and then fucking Cody Zeller, they're all kind of like they crowd it too much.
What about Miami? Okay, Miami is like my second favorite now but I don't think Kyle would like
He fouled
recommend
out tonight.
Kyle.
Yeah.
But like, okay, in Miami, Kyle can get him going. We know this. They run a good pick and roll, and then they're so thin at the power forward position. So that could make sense. But then also, I just thought about Milwaukee could make a lot of sense because Giannis can protect him. He can stretch the floor for Giannis. Like defensively, Giannis can protect him. Stretch the floor for Giannis. Brooks been injured, but even when Brooks like healthy, he can only play like 24 minutes, like max. Maybe Milwaukee could make sense because they got rid of PJ, right? Like they didn't re-sign PJ Tucker, so they obviously lost some depth there. I don't know.
I'm not into it because they have Bobby P, and
Yeah.
PJ was the guy guarding Durant, and
No.
I
Oh
don't
God.
think Boucher is doing that. So maybe the Lakers. The Lakers need to downsize a little bit. He could be, I don't know.
Yeah, like he could play center for them, maybe beside
Yeah,
AD. Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. But like their trade assets are like, blech.
Give me Malik Monk. I'll take him all day.
I would too. But he's been huge for them.
I'd
He's
even
like
take
their
Kendrick
only.
Nunn.
No, no,
I feel
thank
like
you.
we could turn Kendrick Nunn into the next Van Vliet.
No, I don't like. I'm not a fan. Do you guys?
I don't like this one. I don't want Porzingis his contract.
How
That's the
many
big one.
years does he have
I think two
remaining?
more maybe, but it's a lot of money.
If it's this year and two more, then no.
I,
If it's just this and next, I would consider it. But
Done. No, I
but
don't know. Don't worry about it. I don't know. I just don't like Porzingis that much.
no, fair enough. I saw another question I
So
wanted
did
to get
I.
back to.
Was it the Rookie of the Year one?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Oh, for the Raptors so far.
Or
So
maybe there's another one.
yeah, but
Oh,
we can
there's
do
this one
this.
too.
Well, rookie of the year.
Why is it? Okay, fair enough. Not a question.
I'll say this one is
Oh, sorry.
Barnes and
Barnes. No.
Fred would be my two.
It has to be Fred by a hair over Gary because he's the
Oh, for
guy
sure.
guarding the main point of attack all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Gary is a bit overrated as a defender, but like he is really good at getting his hands in there.
2024 player option for Porzingis.
That's disgusting.
Yeah,
I don't want that.
don't touch that.
No.
I hope not for this because I have him at 11-1 odds. So I
Nice.
hope, and I think Mobley's injury. I think Cade is favored right now, which is stupid. But
Yeah, I think like I don't think it's a good question, but I don't think his chances will go down if he goes to the bench. I think he'll win Rookie of the Year, like legitimately, if the Raptors are good. And if like assuming like Mobley doesn't carry the Cavs to the playoffs and Cade's obviously not carrying that team to the playoffs, like being a good team factors in heavily to Rookie of the Year voting even. Like Melo won it, right? Melo won it. LaMelo won it last year, even though he missed a lot of games. And the main talking point was like, I want to like show Edwards love, but they're like they won like 20 games. Like it's very hard to give it to a rookie whose team hardly wins. So I think if if the Raptors like win and they get to the playoffs and those other guys don't do that for those teams, then I would say he has a really good chance.
are the Raptors going to the playoffs?
They're going to the play-in. Yeah. Yeah,
I
top 10 seed
also
for sure.
I
I got
also bet they're over on 37 wins and have them
same.
going to the playoffs. So I think so too. But they got to get fucking healthy.
Yeah. I mean, the
Uh,
thing is, like, health is definitely a one thing, and, like, as my brother owner and I were talking about, if Fred gets injured, that's the only player that I would then worry about their playoff chances because they don't have a replacement for him at all, whereas these wings obviously have some overlapping skills. Um, but yeah, like, I'm pretty confident that they're just gonna keep getting better and better as the season rolls on, and then if they can get to health, I think they have a chance on going on a good run. No.
there was an earlier question of who should we vote for All-Star? Like if we're gonna like rally the masses, who is the one guy we should be voting for?
On the Raptors, I mean, I've been on Fred VanVleet all season. I think he's been their best player by a pretty large margin.
I think so too.
But, all defense, I'd like OG to get on there. He deserves that.
Yeah, I forgot about OG. Actually, maybe he's our defensive player of the year.
Yeah, no, that's a good like you could definitely make that argument over for like because guards just don't make the same impact that a wing like OG does.
Yeah.
But he has been a little more in and out than usual. Anyways, we hit our hour mark. We hit our obligatory hour mark that we don't get whips by the Raptors Republic owners if we don't hit. So thankfully we hit that. Sorry for I touched something. So the Raptors one more game only on this road trip, and it is
Wow.
in where is this? Indiana, where they're 2-0 this season against Indiana. Indiana's kind of a shit show, but they have been up and down recently. Definitely a winnable game though. And then damn, I didn't even realize how tough the schedule was when they get home. It's Boston and then Memphis again and then the Bucks. So
The Pacers blew it against the Lakers tonight. Duarte hit a game-winning or game-tying baseline three that was definitely an and one. They're frisky. I know we've beat them both times, but I just
yeah.
feel like they're starting to get healthy. I don't know when TJ Warren's back, but LeVert and Brogdon are back. And in the game we played the Pacers, Brogdon was destroying us and then pulled his hamstring. So I mean, this stretch of 4 games is not easy by any means.
No, Boston's also on a tear, and the
They got
Bucks.
crushed tonight, though.
Oh yeah, great to see. And if the Bucks get healthy, then they're obviously going to be really good. Could we scroll down though, Don? I just saw something that made me smile, which is Thunder, and then Knicks, and then Kings. Ugh, that's a great 3-0 right there. Happy to see that.
And
Oh,
the crumbling
Nets.
Knicks.
Okay, don't show us the Nets. We don't need to see that. But yeah, that's yeah, no, exactly. The Knicks are a shit show right now. The
Right.
Thunder are barely a basketball team. The Kings are a puke stained organization, so it's pretty good.
I think Barnes gets traded. I think that team might just totally blow it up.
What did you just say? You said Barnes. You mean
Harrison.
Fox?
Harrison.
Oh, phew, okay. I thought you meant Scotty.
I think Fox gets traded too, but
yeah, Barnes for sure though. Yeah. Anyways, this has been the wrap up. This has been the wrap up. I'm Oren. That's
I'm
Adon. Sorry, he's Adon. We got Don producing.
Dawn.
Thanks,
you,
Don. And that's pretty much it. The Raptors beat the Grizzlies 126-113. They'll be back in action Friday night against the Pacers. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel where we're doing other great stuff. Kelsey O'Brien hosts trivia night every Tuesday, and this past Tuesday, I think they had like over 1,000 participants. From what I had, 1,600 participants. So that's blowing up. Be sure to subscribe so you can get those notifications, and we'll be back providing your positive, optimistic Raptors notes, even if they lose. Peace.